Alrighty, welcome back everybody to the second week of our summer technology tech bites programs. Even though it's technically the third week, it's the second week of our web development bell day going on here today, where we are solving problems similar to our algorithmic programming from our spring courses we had earlier this year. But instead of using the programming language of Python, we're focusing now on and building the fundamentals of the new language of JavaScript. Over the last week, we got to learn more about the language of JavaScript, reviewed some of the fundamentals, the concepts, made sure we were clear on the syntax. And this week, we're going to keep on continuing to build our toolbox and start tackling some problems, some of which we talked about last week, and getting familiarized with this new language. As always, thank you everyone for coming out here today. We got a great group of people, and if you are new, be sure to spread the word. If you like what you're seeing here, having some fun, it always goes a long way. So first things first, let's just start off with just a quick introduction. You guys know who we are. My name is Rasty, guys. About a month ago, graduated from James B. Conant High School. Some of us here are going there as well. And now this upcoming fall, I will be going to the University of Illinois at Chicago, majoring in computer science. Excited about that.
Hey guys, my name is Labdi, and just like Rayan, I just graduated from Conant High School, and I will be going to UIUC studying the same topic, computer science. And here's a quote / poem that I saw last week. For those of you who weren't here last week, roses are red, violets are blue, unexpected breeze on line 32. Thank you. Thank you, Rishi.
So relatable though.
Yep.
Alrighty, well, we usually like to get started off, guys, with a quick little agenda what we're going to be doing today. And today, just a quick recap on our Google Classroom. Make sure we're all good with that. Start off with a new, every day we have something which we're doing to start off. We got debates on Tuesdays with MIT App Inventor. We got this or that on Wednesday. On Mondays, we're going to be doing Would You Rather. So that kind of come up as well. And then getting towards our coding problem of the day, seeing how we are going to tackle that. So first things first, a quick recap.
All right, before we do go through the recap, I just want to make sure everyone here is on our Google Classroom. I do see some new names. So if you go ahead and go to classroom.google.com and put in this code QAF, not KAF, QAF7IBJ.
I was pronouncing it. Half is
So I'll put that in the chat, QAF7IBJ. And oh my God, I messed up as well. That's weird. Okay, not that code. Code is QAF. There we go. Thank you, Rishi. All right, so yeah, put that code in Google Classroom, or I can paste in the link later on. Just takes a couple of seconds to bring that. Click on that, and you'll be in the Google Classroom where we put in all of our resources as well as our videos. So basically, what's being recorded right now, and our code links. So yeah.
And as a quick one last time recap, everybody here, I'm pretty sure is already signed up. But you guys know we got 4 programs going on each week with our Summer Technology Tech Bites programs. Every Monday, we got Web Development Bell Day, where we are tackling new problems with the new language of JavaScript. Tuesday, tomorrow, we got MIT App Inventor, learning how to create some actual apps. We started out last week by making our first app, adding some elements like buttons onto a screen, and being able to run the app with our phone and deploy it. So that's pretty cool. And then every single Wednesday, we also got web project development. And this Wednesday, we're going to keep on making our way towards the new project we outlined last week, where we're creating a full project with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's a lot of fun, making our own website. So be sure to come out for that as well. And then every other Thursday, like Chase was talking about earlier today, he crowned himself the king of last week's games. We have video gaming hour where we just relax, chill back, learn about how some games were made with code, and then also get a chance to play them. So at this point, I'm pretty sure we are all signed up. But if you're not, anything which has the name of Tech Bytes, be sure to sign up. And you guys are in for quite the treat.
Now for our would you rather question. So would you rather travel back in time to meet your ancestors, or would you rather go to the future to meet your descendants? It's a tough call.
Future descendants, easily.
All right, so you got to explain why.
Yeah.
Because I want to know if I became like famous in the future, because that would be something that you would find out by going to meet your future descendants. You could ask them. Plus, if I'm going to go meet my ancestors, then I'll probably end up seeing like my caveman.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you go to the future to meet your descendants, well, let's say you have precise location tracking of the Earth spinning. If you didn't, you'd be ended up in this middle of space. And the thing is, if you go to the future, technically there might be a supernova. You could say that the sun will explode. So you will technically be at the exact moment when the sun explodes and Earth dies. So basically, you're gonna get evaporated. That's why I would go to ancestors.
Thank you, Bill Nye. We got a lot of people in the comments saying in the chat. Krishna saying the future, Ishan the future, Avanish the future. Krishna saying she wants to learn with the legacy. Okay. Joe saying everyone's assuming that they'll have descendants in the first place. So everyone's assuming that their bloodlines will keep on going on. Paritosh saying ancestors. Paritosh, you want to share why? You're going against the wave?
I want to know what my ancestors look like and what they were good at back then.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I'd prefer future too, because if I go back in time, then I'll bring out a gun or some. If I bring out a gun or a cell phone, probably more realistically a cell phone, then everyone will think I'm some wizard or something and crown me as their king or something like that. So then I can go. But in the future, if I bring out a cell phone, they'll probably just make fun of me because I'm outdated. So it's better.
Lobby, what'd you do?
Personally, I would go back to my ancestors because I like history and like looking back in ancient times, not even ancient, but like historic times and how life used to be like without our daily, I guess, tools and utilities that we use, like, I don't know, microwaves, cell phones, computers. And I just want to see what life was back then.
Yeah, I think I would definitely, although it seems tempting to go see that, like the new technology, all about in the future, I think I'll go back in time, go back to the sundial, see how that was used, and a more simpler life, I guess. Not as, it seems interesting. Learn about the history in the motherland, so that would be probably me for me as well. Let's get a quick vote right here. So in the future, let's get a thumbs up.
Thumbs up, so just in a reaction. Yes, Avanish, there will be no presentations back then.
Yeah, no tech bytes. Programming was not even a concept back then, I'm sure. Simple life.
Well, depends on how far back you travel.
And we also have
that
to
is
consider
true.
is that we could also end up meeting ourselves, because who knows if soon enough they'll advance technology into making us live forever or something.
Oh,
So we
no.
might end up meeting ourselves.
The paradox, no, the paradox cannot happen. If you meet yourself, you're technically meeting yourself, which is a paradoxical thing. So if you meet yourself, you're practically changing your future to die, basically.
Yeah, but then I kind of want to actually
Your
find
whole
out. I
life
want to
is a
see how
paradox.
wise I become.
If you meet yourself, your whole life is literally a paradox. It does not exist.
Well, that's why I'll just live mine directly like his.
Yeah, just go like be that shadowy person that follows you all the way around.
Pretty contradicting, but a simple life without antibiotics would be shorter. Yeah, it would be shorter. So, but using, I don't know, it depends. I guess it does depend on how far back. Are you talking about like multiple generations? Are you talking about a couple generations? So, definitely something to think about. Alrighty, well, that was this week's Would You Rather. Hopefully you guys liked it, and stay tuned for next week's coming up as well. But now let's move on towards our Bell Day problem, which we started to discuss last week. We just talked about it, although we did not code it. It was a simple idea which we had. The problem was to make a program which would find the smallest value from a given list or an array of numbers. So we have an array, a bunch of numbers, and our goal would be to find the smallest number in the array. Now, last week when we ended off, me and Lab, you were asking if anybody wanted to take the chance to solve this the problem. And at this moment, did anybody go ahead and solve it or try to code it? It was not homework or anything. It was just, we just asked if you guys wanted to.
It was a take-home final, guys.
Yeah.
We're grading you guys on this.
I mean, the thing is that in Python, this would be just do a for loop iterating over each value in the array. But in JavaScript, I don't know how to do that.
Well, you came to the right place because we will be showing up. Avanish saying one line, setting up the array. Well, Avanish, you got the basic part. We'll do that. We'll use that as a foundation today and keep on making our way up. So no worries.
All right, so before we do move on, just to review of what we will need. Now we did put the list over here, but I'm gonna ask you guys. So for variable, actually, you know what? I don't need to ask you guys. It's all on the screen. But variables will need a value to store the minimum number that we find, and then for another variable, we'll obviously need to store the array. So we'll have two variables that we work with. Then there is a loop, and since we do iterate through an array, we'll have to use a for loop. And then finally, a conditional. Conditional is to compare the minimum value with the value of with each value of the array. So that kind of sets the basis of what things we're going to use, and this should make it easier to kind of imagine how we're going to solve this problem using JavaScript.
Alrighty, so let's just do a quick recap of the specifics of these terms, which we were going over. So first things first, guys, variables. We talked about these for the past 3 weeks. We've been going over them. Remember, just a bit different than how we do them in Python. The idea is still the same. They're holding a value, number, word. It could be a Boolean as well. And we just add the word var and then the variable name and set it equal to whatever we would like. So example right here towards the left, we want to set a variable, declare that to the number 5, var x equals 5. Pretty simple. We've been doing this for a couple of weeks now. Idea is still the same. Just notice the syntax is a bit different.
Yep. And then secondly is conditionals. Conditionals are if and else statements, which you can see right over here in this example that is on the screen. It's an if condition 1, else condition 2. Now there's another part of it, an else if, that we won't cover today, but it's very good to know since these else if conditions are also very common. Basically, you check one condition in if, and then you can check another condition in else if. So if, for example, condition 1 said it was raining, then I do something else. Else if it was pouring, I do something else. Else I stay outside or something like that. So yeah, this pretty basic, and the only difference between Python conditional statements and JavaScript conditional statements is exactly what Ryan is pointing at. It's the braces. In Python, it was just a colon and then you enter tab. But in JavaScript, you type in an open and a close brace, and then inside those two braces is where our code goes in.
And lastly, for today, we are going to have to utilize a loop because we are going over an array. Now, we talked about two loops, right? We got for loop and a while loop. A for loop we use when we know how many times we want to run our for loop. And then a while loop we run when we really don't know how long to run it. It's until a condition is no longer met. So what type of loop do you think we'll be utilizing today? If we have an array with a predefined number of elements in the array, what type of loop? A for loop or a while loop today?
For, because you're iterating over a set value, not while something is happening. So it's like for value in array, you need to repeat for each value in an array.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter for like how long it is. You can for is adaptable and while is not adaptable since it'll go until something happens.
Yep. So like Richie said, we're going to be utilizing a for loop today, and that is because we know how long our array will be. We'll be utilizing this idea of the length of our array so that our for loop runs the correct number of times. And since we're not going to be utilizing a while loop, the reason is because we already know how many times our code will need to run. There's no set condition which we're really checking for today.
Yep. And finally, it's time to whiteboard. Now, basically the whiteboard part comes, it's somewhere that we think of the logic that we're going to code. And Ryan, are you doing it or should I?
You want to do it and I'll code that?
Yeah, I can do it.
Do you have the sharing ability? I think, right?
Yes, I do. All right, cool. Can you see a white screen?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So as we said, there are 3 things that we need: variables, conditionals. Let's put in loops first. Loops, and conditionals. Conditionals, cool. Now variables is the array and the minimum number. Now, in actually thinking of the code, we first have to have an array. Now I'm not going to write the whole code here, just kind of visualizing what our code will look like. So array, we're going to have open brackets, close brackets, and a bunch of values. Let's say numbers. All right, so here's our array. Now, once we have our array, we want to iterate through it. Actually, not iterate through it. Secondly, we just want to initialize or define our second variable that we were going to use, which was our minimum value. I'll just add an underscore. Perfect. And let's set this to a very small value. Suppose our bunch of numbers cannot be negative, then I'll set that equal to 0. Yes. Now, we got our variables done. So let me, here, where can I draw? Cool. Where's the screen? All right, so variables is done. Now, second is loops. So we're going to use loops. Let's use blue for that. Next is loops. So basically, as Rishi and Rayan were talking, we're going to iterate through that array. Basically, that's like, those are big words for saying we're going to go through each number of that array. So for each number, for number in array. Now, again, this is pseudocode. So pseudocode is basically you're writing code in English. So you guys understand the logic that we're going to use, but this is not JavaScript at all. So for number in array, what are we going to do? I'm doing, okay. Always use braces whenever you're in the zone of JavaScript. So for each number in array, we basically want to compare. This is where conditionals come in. Here, let me cross off loops and here, draw. All right, cool. Cross off loops, and now we are in conditionals. All right, pink. All right, finally, it's the final step, guys, don't worry. So for conditionals, we're going to go through each value of that array. And for each value, we're gonna see if that number is less than the minimum value. And if it is, then what we do is we exchange that number with the minimum value. So the new value of this variable right here will be that number. So minimum value gets updated with number. So this is basically saying if you are with a group of friends and you want to know who's the best at Minecraft or something, and then you compare scores, you go through each person in that friend group and then ask them their scores. So suppose we are asking each other's scores. Let's see. Suppose Rayan, me, and Joe are asking each other's score. Mine is 0, Rayan's is 34, and Joe's is 100, right? And we want to see who is the worst at Minecraft. We're going to go through Joe, and his number is 100, so that's greater than the 0 that we start off with. But actually, let's say mine is 1. I'm not that bad. It's greater than 0. But so the minimum value stays at 0. Now let's use Rayan. Rayan was, I think, 34. Yeah. That is still greater than 0 or less. Yeah, it's not less than 0, so the value of 0 stays. Now, finally, we go to mine, and actually this, okay. Instead of 0 over here, this is actually a big number. And if we are comparing for a maximum value, we start off with 0. That is my bad. So let me cross this off. This should be, let's put 1,000, like a huge number. All right, cool. All right, so back to our example. If we compare this by Joe, Joe's was 100. 100 is less than 1,000, so the new minimum value is 100. Now we go to Rayan. Rayan's is 34, but Rayan's is less than 100, which was Joe's. So the new lowest Minecraft score is 34. Now we go to me, mine is 1. And then we compare the 1 to 34, that's the minimum we have so far. But mine is the lowest. So the total minimum value of all three of us is 1, which is the lowest score for Minecraft. So that is a similar logic of what we have over here for a number in an array. Basically, the Minecraft score in a group of friends is a number in an array. So aside from this small confusion of setting a minimum value to a higher number, so like a huge number, do we understand how this logic works? Yes. Or how about who doesn't like? Do you guys have any questions? No, cool. All right, then let's go ahead and code this, and you guys will fully understand how this looks in JavaScript.
Exactly. So guys, the link towards our JS Fiddle is in the chat below. If you'd like, you can click that and watch me code as we go through this, or you're very encouraged to open up a different screen on your laptop and follow along so that you are actually getting the experience of typing. That's always super important, but if not, no worries.
One thing to keep in mind, JS Fiddle does not work like Replit. It's not, it doesn't update instantaneously. You'll have to refresh to get the newest code. So you can watch on the screen. I'm sorry, Rishi?
There's a thing where you can, in your settings, there's a thing where you can do that. You can make it. Yeah, if you go to your settings, it should say, what is it? Auto save code bumps the version, so that it will automatically reload it for you.
All right. Okay. Cool. Then that should work.
Yeah. All right. So we are utilizing the language of JavaScript, right? And we can also, if we'd like, use a button. So like say we have a button, once we click that, then we can console.log the minimum value. So what I'm going to do is just make one simple button. It's not product development, so it doesn't really matter that much, but it's a good way to get some experience in with HTML as well. So remember, the way we create a button is first style greater than sign, and then we literally type out the word button. Now we can end with a greater than sign, and now we have a button. So if I hit run, we have a button, but there's no text associated with the button, and the button does nothing. So firstly, let's make add some text. We can say find minimum value. There we go. And now we have to link this button to a function. Anybody remember from last product development what we got to do to link it to a function?
So hold on, let me take all the code. So you have to put a button on click.
Exactly. So we have to say on, like Rishi said, and then the C is capitalized, on click. This is literally saying to the button, hey, on the click of this button, call a certain function. Now we'll make the function, we can just call the function find minimum, and then add the opening close parentheses since we are dealing with a function like such. So just like we're reading this in English, we have a button. When the button's clicked, call this function, and the text of the button is find the minimum value. All right, now we can move on towards our JavaScript, the actual logic, which will handle the finding of the minimum value in our array. What I'm going to do firstly is create a function and call it whatever you named it in your on click. So mine was called find the minimum. Add the opening close parentheses, and instead of the colon, we will be adding the braces. Now, just to make sure that our function works, I'm just going to alert hello. Let's see that our function is being called. Hit run. Hit find minimum value. There we go. We see the alert of hello. And guys, as I'm going along, if you guys have any questions, want me to slow down, go faster, whatever the case might be, please do let me know. Well, did not want anybody to leave. Wow, okay. All right, well, now we have our function. We have to start coding a logic. First things first, I'm going to create an array of all of our values. We'll add like 10 different values. We can just call array of numbers and set that equal to, just like in Python, that open and close bracket type thing. And now we can add some numbers in here. So whatever you'd like, just add any random numbers. There we go. So that's like 12, 13 different numbers right there. Remember, always end any line of code in JavaScript with a semicolon. Give everybody a minute right there to catch up. Just make an array of random numbers. And now, you know what I can do is just, if you want to copy and paste the same thing, I'll drop in the chat as well.
You can't copy and paste in Zoom.
There's there's 3 dots next to every message. At least in my version, if you hit those 3 dots, there's like a copy to clipboard option.
For some reason, I'm not getting the 3 dots.
Oh, what?
Yeah, for me too.
I can copy and paste.
You guys probably have the newer version.
Maybe an update, yeah.
Probably.
Oh, like, I just did something like this.
Yeah, that sounds about
Yep.
right.
All right, so now that we have our actual array of all the numbers, we have to move on towards going over each number in our array. Before we can get there, we have to first just declare a variable which will be responsible for holding the minimum value. So I'm going to say is just var minimum value, and for now we'll just set that equal to 0. So right now the minimum value in our array is 0, but obviously that will change once we actually start iterating over our array.
Wait, Ryan, don't make the same mistake I've made. It doesn't start off at 0. It's usually a big number.
Oh, yeah, so we're finding the minimum value, so we can just go 1,000 for now.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you. So since we're finding the minimum value, just to make sure we're on the safe side, we're going to go with a much larger number. So in this case, it could be 1,000, it could be 500, whatever you'd like. Just make sure that it's a bit more than whatever we have in our array. All right, so now that we got the 2 variable declarations which we had to make, now we can move on towards our for loop, which will be responsible for iterating over our array, and then we can make some conditional and comparisons with our numbers. So remember, for loops are a bit different than how we do them in Python. We can't just say for x in range. We have to actually declare a variable. So for, we can just say var x equals 0 initially. We will run our for loop the length of our array. So array of numbers dot length. And then we also have to put a third parameter or an argument, that being that we will iterate or increment the value of our variable x by 1 every time which we move through the array. This way, our array will allow us to move through every single element without skipping any. Give everybody a minute. So remember 3 things when making a for loop. We first declare a variable. We then tell the computer how many times we want our for loop to run. And then lastly, we tell by what margin should we increase our variable by. So if I make this x plus equal like 2, we will be skipping or going over every second value, which is not what we want to do, which is why I just did x plus plus to make sure we go through every single value. All right, so we got the 2 variables we got to declare, our array, the minimum value. We got our for loop, which will be iterating over the whole array. The last thing now is to make the comparison. Now, what concept will we use to make the comparison?
If and else.
Exactly, yep. So what I'm going to say is if the number which we are currently looking at, so in order to access that current number, we say whatever array is, we use these 2 brackets, and then the variable we are currently in our for loop. Now, this piece of code right here, this is allowing us to access every single element we are looking at. So starting it at the 0th position. So this is saying, hey, in our array, look at the 0th position, which is the number 5. Then it'll increment by 1, which means, hey, look at our array at the 1st position. Remember how in computer science, we always start at the 0th index. So the 0th index here represents the number 5. The 1st index represents the number 13. So who can tell me, what does the 4th index represent? So if I were to do array of numbers at 4, what is
11.
Yep, so this 5 is 0th position, 13 is 1st, 45 is 2nd, 2nd is 3rd, and the number 11 is the 4th index. So just to recap, this allows us to access that number in any position or array. Now, since we're finding the minimum value, so we're going to say is if the number we're currently looking at is less than the minimum value which we already have in our variable, then we can set a new minimum value. So remember, we have our if, then we also have to use braces because it's in JavaScript. And now we have to actually make the switch up in our variable. Since we're finding a different value, we're going to say now that the minimum value is now equal to whatever number we were looking at. So in our array of numbers, whatever number was being accessed right here. So just to recap, this if statement is making that comparison, checking if the number we're currently looking at, if that is less than the minimum value we already found, then make the new minimum value the number we were looking at. So going through, is the number 5 less than 1,000? Yes, it is. So the number 5 would be the new minimum value. Is the number 13 then less than 5? No, it's not. Is the number 45 less than 5? No, it's not. Is the number 2 less than 5? Yes. So our program at the end of the day should tell us the minimum value is the number 2 because it's the smallest number, right, in our array. So let's see if that's possible. One last thing we got left to do now is just output it. So what I'm going to do, the equivalent.
Console.log.
Exactly. The equivalent of printing out in Python, Avanish, we're just going to do console.log. We'll say minimum value is, and we'll just print out our minimum value. All right, so let's give this a go. When I hit find minimum value, we should be told the minimum value is 2. So run, click our button, and there we go. We are told that our minimum value is 2. And if we add more numbers, if I add 1, we should be told now that it's 1. And find minimum value, there we go, it is 1. Now we do have a couple, anybody at this point have any questions about what was going on, about any part of our code?
Yeah, mine says the minimum value is 0.
Well, is 0 the least number?
Yep. So Rishi, like I was saying earlier, since we're looking for the minimum value, we want to set our initial variable to a very high value. So make it like 1,000 or something.
Yeah, I made it 1 billion.
Oh.
Okay, so in your array, is the number 0 there?
Nope. I mean, there's 5, 13, 14, 2, 6, 7, 18, 9, 20, 3, 6, 15.
Are you setting your minimum value to the correct?
I changed it to 1,000. It still says the same thing.
Are you setting your minimum value to the variable in your for loop instead of the element we're accessing?
Here, hold on. So, yeah. Can I share my screen? I think I don't know.
Yeah, you want to go to mine and copy and paste?
Or Rishi, paste in your oh yeah, cool. Rishi, you can paste in your JS Fiddle link. I can take, oh, okay. That too. Yeah, so Rishi, like Rayan said, for line, I don't know which line it is, but where you say var minimum value equals X, that's not what we want. We want minimum value is equal to the X index of the array of numbers.
Yep, so right now, Rishi, what you're doing is setting the minimum value equal to whatever time we're iterating. So the first time, the second time, the third time in our for loop. We want to set it equal to whatever number is 0 at that position. So let's make that switch out.
Okay, yeah.
Alrighty, and now as a quick little, we can do another problem right here, tackle. It's going to take one switch up, quite literally. Today we wanted to find a maximum value in our array. Elaborate? Yep.
No, I think I heard that too.
Okay, all right. So say, guys, we wanted to find the maximum value in our array instead of the minimum. Who can tell me the one, like ignoring, changing the variable names, changing the function name, just keep that the same. If I wanted to find the maximum value, what is literally one element change I got to make? One switch up right here. One, not even a line of code. One letter change. What would that be?
The less than sign flipped to greater.
Exactly. All we have to do now is just flip this to say, is it greater than sign? So if the number we're currently looking at is greater than the maximum value we've already found, then set our maximum value to the new number. So in this case now, what I'm going to do is make our minimum value like 0. And then we should be told that our maximum value is 110. So if I hit run, find the maximum value, there we go. We're told that the minimum value, it's the maximum is 110. So go to show us how one little.
Yeah, you just have to change in the console.log maximum value is 110.
Yep, you can definitely do that. So you can create a whole different function if you'd like. You know, we got a quick minute, so we can do find minimum value, copy and paste the code for the HTML, make a new function. We can call that find the maximum value, find maximum. And what I'm going to do is quite literally just copy and paste this whole function and change it to find maximum. You could change the variable names if you'd like as well. Make the, since we're finding a maximum value, initially set that equal to a pretty low value, so like 0. Array of numbers still the same. We're just looking at a new maximum value. Replace that, and now the maximum value is. So if I hit run, we got 2 buttons now. Minimum value is 1, and maximum value is 0. Oh, I forgot to make the switch up. Greater than sign. So minimum value 1, maximum value is 110. Just took us one flip of the greater than sign. Alrighty, guys. Well, if anybody has any questions right now, please do ask. We will be continuing to work on more problems in the coming weeks, building up the difficulty as well, starting out with the foundation this week, going over and reviewing as well. Alrighty, as always, guys, this link will be available and posted to Google Classroom after today's class, along with our video link if you wanted to go over. Have any questions further about the code, you can comment and ask us on the Google Classroom as well. But other than that, that brings us till the end for the second week of our web development build day. Hopefully you guys had a fun time kicking off with Would You Rathers and then getting into some code as well. We'll be continuing to do this in the coming weeks as well. Remember, tomorrow we got MIT App Inventor, and then Wednesday, web development, web project development. So hopefully catch you guys there as well. Guys, take care. Catch you guys on the next one. See you guys.
Bye.
All right, bye. Thank you.